Share.
Revit is a modeling tool used for design, documentation, and delivery of building projects. This is a model of an office building done with Revit. Revit is used by architects, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, interior designers, and fabricators. This is a help project done with Revit. Revit can do floor plans, elevations, sections, ceiling plans, 3D views, and schedules. Revit is a single coordinated building model, meaning you can see many views at once. For example, here you can see the floor plan, elevation, and 3D view.
Okay, so we're gonna go into a building model, and we will learn how to develop a model in Revit. So this is a building model and it's done with Revit. So you can see the views here. Here we have a tiled view, and this is the 3D view. This is the elevation. This is the plan of the building. Revit has, in a Revit model, it has categories, families, and types. So, for instance, if I go to architecture, so you can see wall, door, window, component, column. So these are the Revit categories. So under each category, if I come here and I click on door, so you can see there is single flush door, and I can load different type of doors inside here. So those are the families. And then under each family, you have different sizes. So for instance, if I come under single flush door, I have 30 by 80, 30 by 84. So those are the different sizes of door. And you have instances, different instances on the screen. For instance, I can have two instances of this same door in a project. So that Revit develops in categories and families. So the Revit interface, we have the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar is where we have the open, we have save, and we have print too. And we can add other activities, other things into the quick access toolbar. Depending on which project you're doing, if you are doing an architectural project, a structural project, or a mechanical project, you have different families and you use different ribbons. So this is for an architectural project, and you can see you have the wall, the doors, the windows, and the components under build when you are building the model. And this is the roof, ceiling, and floor. And then for circulation, you have the stairs, the ramp, just for circulation inside the building. And then you have the model line, the model test, the model group. And for the room and area, you can tag the room, and you can also use a room separator to separate the rooms when you are tagging. And you can find area, you can put in area of the rooms in your room tag. So this is a standard, the architecture ribbon. And when you come to the structure ribbon, you will see that there are different families. In the structure ribbon, you have the modify, you have the beam, wall, column, floor, truss, brace. So structural families are quite different from architectural families. And under the systems, you're going to see the electrical families. So in mechanical and electrical, you have the duct, flex hole, the flex ducts, the air terminal, and mechanical control device. And you have the plumbing fixtures. So this is used for mechanical fixtures. And then you have the annotate, which is for creating detail lines for test and for spot elevation and general annotation. Now we have analyze, and analyze is what we use for reports and schedules. Reports and schedules. And if you create a room tag and you want to fill it with color, use the color fill to put the colors in the room tag. So, and you can see for analyze different things. Sometimes you're able to analyze the energy in a project. So all these come under analyze. Massing and site. So this is where you can use the model site, you can create the topography, create site components, packing components. And also in conceptual design, sometimes you use mass. You use mass and you place masses in doing your design. You can also place your walls and roof and just use for conceptual design. In a Revit model, you can collaborate with a group in a group. So you create work sets, you can create work sets, and each person will learn how to work with the work set. We'll go into more details in this. You have different views in a Revit model. So you have a 3D view, and under 3D view, you can go to the 3D view. You have the default 3D view, and we also have camera views and walkthrough. You have the section, call out, elevation, and plan views, and we will learn how to do all these views. And you can manage a project. So this is where you put in your project information, the information about the project, object styles like layers, snaps, and all that, if you want to do that. And if you want to create a study, this is where you do it. And sometimes you have Dynamo, you can link Dynamo into Revit. So the next thing is add-ins. You can have add-ins in Revit. For instance, these Enscape, Beam Collab, Planting, these are all add-ins. They didn't come with Revit. So this is an add-in for rendering, an add-in for collaboration, and an add-in for landscape. So Revit can do a lot of things. And so this is a Revit model. And when you come here, this is the properties panel. If you select any object on the screen, you can see it on the properties panel. So we're going to go back to tab view. Right now we are in tab view. That's why we can see four. So in tab view, you can see only one at a time. So I'm going to go to level one. So this is level one. And if I select the screen, if I select any object on the screen, then I can see the properties. For instance, I'm selecting wall and I can see the properties of the wall in the properties toolbar. And you can also see that once you select an object, the modify toolbar comes in. So the modify commands are basically like the commands we use in AutoCAD. So you have the copy command, the move command, offset, mirror. So you can use all these commands while you're doing your drawing. Now we have the project browser. So in the project browser is where you have your floor plan, your ceiling, your 3D views, elevation schedule. So you can see everything all the on your project in the project browser. And then we have the navigation toolbar. So in the navigation toolbar, we have the wheel. So in the wheel, you have, and you also have the zoom command. So in the zoom command, you can see zoom in region, zoom out, zoom to fit, zoom out to fit, zoom shift side, previous pan, or zoom. So we use all this to navigate through AutoCAD, through Revit. And we also have this. This is the wheel. So this is the wheel. And if you hold on your zoom wheel, you can zoom. And if you hold on pan, you can also pan the project. You have to hold it with your left and then rewind. So if you hold on with your left finger, you can rewind to different what you have done before. So these are interesting ways to navigate through a project. And apart from that, if you right click, once you right click, you can see your zoom in region. So you can just right click and zoom in into an area, and you can also right click and use zoom to fit. So while you're drawing, you can always right click and zoom in into any part of the project. So this is the standard Revit interface. You have to have your project browser, you have to know your property toolbar, your navigation toolbar, your ribbons. And right here, this is where you visualize the project, the visual style. So you can see wireframe, hidden line, shaded, remember how you want to view it. And this here shows the level of details. So you can see cars, medium, and fine. This is where you set the scale for your project. So this is you select whatever scale that you want to use from there. And here you can also select, you can reveal hidden elements. You can hide an element that you do not want to see in Revit. For instance, if I want to hide my columns, I can right click and say hide in view elements, and it will be hidden. And if I want to reveal it, I'll come here and I will see it here, and I'll select it, right click and say on hide in view, on hide in view. So you can hide in view and you can unhide in view. You can also hide in view. You can select a category and say hide in view category elements. So is a command that is used very often in Revit. So we're going to start a new project, and we'll go into the creation of walls, creation of grid, creation of levels, and creation of columns. So to start a new project, you go to File, New, Project. So when you start a new project, you see the templates, and you see there is Imperial Construction template, Architectural template, Structural template, and Systems template. And you also have metric templates. For this project, we're going to use the Imperial Construction template. So now I'm going to say OK. So this is a new project. So we're trying to create this project that is here. And if you look at it, you see the grid. You see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertical grids, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horizontal grids. So we're going to create the grids. That's the first thing we're going to create. To create the grids, if you go to Architecture and you go to Datum, so you will see grid. So we're going to create, the grids are 12 feet apart. So we're going to create the first one, and you, so we'll create the next one, 12 feet apart. We'll create the next one, 12 feet apart. We'll create the next one. Five. And then we're going to create the vertical grids. The vertical grids are also 12 feet apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to look at the project. If you come back here, you see these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are ABC. So I'm going to rename the grid on this side. And to rename the grid, all you have to do is come in here and double click inside, and I can rename it to A, B, C, D, E. Double click inside F. And while you're drawing, you can right click and zoom to fit. Okay, so I want this to be closer. I can drag this closer. And I can also come here and drag this closer. To see the bubble on another side of the grid, all you have to do is check the mark, and this will come out on this side. But we don't want it on that side, so I'm going to uncheck it. So now we have our grid. So the next thing we are going to do is set our level for the project. And to set levels, we go to the elevation view. So right here, I'm going to go to the east elevation view. And you can see in the construction template, our levels are already set for us. So I'm going to show you how to create a new level and how to change the height in levels. Some of these levels we're not going to use, so I will delete some of them. Like the footing we're not using, and we don't have a basement in this project, so I'm going to delete the levels that we don't need. Okay, so right now we need to create another level. So to create a level, all you have to do is come to architecture, and you go to datum and select level. And once you select level, you click, and you know the height of the level you are going to. If it is 12 feet, you select it and you move it to this side. So assuming we want to, you can rename it. If we want to change this from level 8 to level 3, all you have to do is go inside and rename it. So I can zoom in here, and instead of level 3, I want level 8, I want level 3. So I'm gonna double click inside the box and change this from 8 to 3. So we can also change our height. So for instance, instead of 10 feet, I want my height. You to for it to be visible, sometimes you need to move what you've drawn down. So this is 0 feet, which is fine. Instead of 10 feet, I want this to be 12 feet. So you click inside and you can change the height. I can change this to 12 feet, and I can change this to 24 feet. So you can rename and you can change the height. So in this instance, we don't need this level. We just use this to learn how to create a level. So I'm going to delete this level that was just created. Delete. Okay. So we have our level 1, we have our level 2, and we have the roof. So you see, right, just like the other one is created on both sides, and some if you don't want it on one side, you can uncheck it, just like the grid. So once I uncheck it, the bubble will not be on that side. So we want to have level 1, level 2, level 3, and we have set the heights for our levels. So we'll go back to the floor plan and add our columns and walls. So I'm going to go back to level 1, and we have a horizontal and vertical grid. So the first column that we add is the structural column. So if you come in here to this and you zoom in, So if I zoom in, these are the structural columns. So we're going to add the structural columns inside first. And once we add that, then we're going to add the rectangular columns. So I'm going to go back to my plan, and you go to architecture. Under architecture, you go to column, structural column. So there are, you can see the different sizes of columns. This is a concrete rectangle, and this is the W-shaped columns, 10 by and 10 by 49. So we'll use the 10 by 49, and I will place them at the grid. I'm going to place this one, and place this one, and place this one. So place one here, place one here, place one here, place one here, and place one here, place one here, place one here, and place one here. And I'll place one here and place one here. So to see our columns, we're going to come here and make sure it's shaded. And for the detail level, we want it to be on fine detail level. So you can see it clearly. And to see it in 3D, we're going to go to View and check 3D view, default 3D view. So right now you can see they are really tiny, so we're not seeing them well. So if I go back to level 1 and I select the, so once you're creating, you have to check your base level and top level. Right now is level TO for base level and level 1 for top level, but we want it to go from, you can go from TO, but we want it to go from level 1 to level 3 to the roof level. So I'm going to select all of them. And if I select one and I right click, I can say select all instances visible in view. So I'm going to select all instances or the columns, and I want all of them to go from level 1 to level 3. So come here and I'll put the base level to be level 1, top level, level 3. So once the top level is the roof level, and then I can see it in 3D view. View, default 3D view. So these are the columns that we just created, the structural columns. So you make sure they are all correct.